Hi, welcome to MomTalk. I am Beth from the Smart Social team.
And I'm Andrea.
We're super excited to join you again today. We're going to share some of what we've been working on for the week. Oh my gosh, there's so much going on. I'm excited. So first, Andrea, do you play Wordle?
Yes, for 5 days in a row now, I've played Wordle.
Did you get it 5 days in a row?
I did, yes. Actually, my husband and I were comparing our averages this morning. We were kind of figuring out how smart we are.
How smart you are. How good you are at guessing.
We're super competitive, not always, with each other, but we're just competitive people. So naturally, we're always like, what'd you get it in today?
Do you share it with each other? Like you text each other or put it on social media?
Yeah.
My husband heard about it first. And I said, I don't want to play. If it's that popular, whatever. Like, I don't care. I'll stick with my New York Times crossword puzzle because that's what I am really into, are the mini daily crossword puzzles. But eventually he started sharing his results with me and I said, okay, I'll try it. So every once in a while I will pop in and try it, but we're competitive too. So I got it in 3 guesses the other day and then he got it in 2.
But 3 is still really good. I say this because I've never gotten it in 2.
I think he cheated. That's my guess. Anyways, I bring it up because in itself, Wordle is not social media, right? It's just a game that we play online. And then in the news this week, we saw that he sold it to the New York Times. They won't disclose how much he sold it for, other than saying 7 figures.
Wow.
7 figures. And I read the article about it and it says he started this as a hobby during quarantine. So it was a man that, I don't know what his background is, if he had that technical knowledge before he started this, but it was just something he did for fun. And look at where it got him. To me, that is fascinating. And to me, that is an example that I want to show our kids. And it just fascinates me where we can all take technology and where things might go. And you never know if it's going to make you 7 figures in the future.
Yeah. I mean, you look at your kids now and you think, oh, you're doing these little things that seem so insignificant. And in the grand scheme of things, Wordle is fairly insignificant. But to be able to turn it into a 6-figure paycheck is not bad.
Not bad at all. But I also think we are making it into social. So the way that we share it with, my husband and I just text each other and see the little squares. A lot of people will share it on social media. And to me, I do a lot of social media comparison. I see friends. I've gone through my social media contacts, I don't know how many times, just to weed out who I am seeing and not seeing on my feeds. But even things like competitiveness on how many times it takes you to get Wordle. And if I don't get it in a day and so-and-so got it in 3, like I feel so bad about myself. And I think that's good for us to recognize. Not everybody is at that point to recognize it. Teenagers certainly are not at that point in their psychological understanding of themselves to understand that. So, Wordle's popular, it's exciting. It's not social media and the definition of what they actually provide, but it's all in how we use it in our society.
Yeah, it goes to show what we do with information now and how we share. It goes beyond taking pictures of your food or what you're cooking or how perfect your house looks, but it's how many steps can I get this word in?
Yeah, exactly. Which, by the way, full disclosure, this is not one of our houses. We do not have this perfect background. We're using some fun technology on Zoom just to make this interesting. But, if it helps people watch us a little bit more, it's fun to try. But we all just have to know what kind of filters and what kind of pictures and images we all put on there. And it can be fun. Like you and I had a fun time going through these Zoom immersions to see what technology is out there. So I don't think it's bad. I guess I shouldn't use the word bad. I think the word is when we allow it to impact our lives without understanding how it's impacting our lives.
Yeah, it can be very unhealthy to constantly compare and feel that need for perfection all the time. I think as an adult, I struggle with that anyway, that comparison. But teenagers, kids, it's hard to realize that what you see on a screen isn't true. Pictures have been touched up or curated to be perfect, staged. Everything's very staged a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I'm going to stick to my New York Times mini crossword puzzle every day. It makes me feel good. I like the context. It makes me think. But
I love the idea of the crossword, but I find it so difficult. So to me, the Wordle is nice because it's a little bit shorter, it's faster. I try to Sudoku on a fairly regular basis, but even that, sometimes I think I don't have time to sit here and do this.
right. Yeah. Try the mini. It takes me, I think, about 2 minutes a day.
Oh,
So
okay. We'll do
good way
this.
to
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. Each week, we help parents and educators keep students safe on social media so they can someday shine online. Make sure you join our newsletter to get the most up-to-date social media alerts at smartsocial.com/newsletter. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we send out the latest social media app resources that help parents and educators to navigate this challenging landscape with their students. Now let's get to the program.
So how about we talk about what Smart Social's been working on this week?
Definitely. This week we have been learning about anime. We've put together a whole guide for parents, teaching you what anime is and kind of scratching the surface really over what all it entails, because there is so much to anime. As some people may know, it is a cartoon from Japan, and it also deals with manga, which is the graphic novels and comics from Japan. So it's a specific kind of illustration and very recognizable. Almost everyone is familiar with Pokemon, and that is a very kind of intro level, I would say. But there is a whole community that fans can get tapped into. There are websites that they can stream nothing but anime. And on those websites, they can also join chat rooms and forums to discuss their favorite anime. Kids, or I should say people in general, but kids as well, are using social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat to share their own anime creations. So it's kind of cool because a lot of are getting into this artwork and they're designing their own anime and their own manga, and they're sharing their drawings with other people. And there are all these different resources and ways that they can do that online.
From what we just talked about, even from what we talked about last week, I wouldn't really consider anime in itself as social media, what people read and watch, but the way that people are using it, and especially younger users with some of these websites that make it into social communities, that's where it's really bridging that gap into that social aspect of making a TV show into something you do with friends or do with strangers. And that is really where at Smart Social we have the issue. A lot of kids can go from just watching the show to participating in some of those communities of adults who also watch the show and adults who don't have the greatest intention for our kids, but they find that connection with each other between the kid and the adult. And that's where it can get into a real slippery slope with predators online and people that we may not want our kids interacting with. So, this was really interesting to me. I don't think I would have considered Pokemon as anime. My son has been into that, and I've loved the way he has developed his mind around it. I remember when he was 5, before he could really write, he wanted me to make a poster, and he had all these columns of this type of Pokemon is fire or water or electric, and then he listed them all underneath, and it was a multiple day project with us. And that in my mind was just fascinating. It was like, yes, buddy, you can play with as many Pokemon cards as you want and watch the show because I see what we're doing with it, and let's expand your mind. Very quickly, it can turn into a screen time issue and just addicted to watching TV more than we need to. But that's another issue in itself, but I was okay with it. So anime in itself, what do you think? Good, bad? What's the top tip that parents should think about?
I think there's so many different genres of anime out there with a lot of varying themes. So I think my top tip is to really investigate what your kids want to watch. Do your research on it, watch 1 or 2 full episodes of the show before you let your kids sit down and watch it. Because a lot of times things will start off all fun and childlike, and then before you know it, you realize that you're watching pornography or something really violent that you probably don't want your kids viewing. So that would be my top tip, is to do your research.
Awesome, good tip.
Beth, what have you been working on this week?
Yeah, so this week I did a lot of research about file sharing. I started talking about this in our podcast last week, that the inspiration from this came from some local experiences that our school district had here. One of the schools that my middle school feeds into had some issues that I don't know if they shut down the school or if they were just on lockdown because a picture of a gun or some type of threat was spread through airdrop to students and staff who were just in the building. I don't even know if they tracked down who sent it. It was all determined to be a false threat, but the school took it very seriously, which I'm glad they did, and they protected those students that were in that building. But airdrop is something that is on every Apple device. It is so easy to have that feature open and not even know it. So I was sitting at a middle school concert and I went to share a picture of my daughter playing in the concert with my parents who weren't here. And I noticed, as there's a couple hundred parents sitting around me, probably half of them are on iPhones, how many of them I could have just dropped a photo to. And that really made me wonder how many of us actually know if file sharing is open on our devices or not. This has been all over the media, so this isn't new. It's not just my individual school district, it's all over. We've seen it a lot in travel and on airplanes as well, that can just disseminate a picture or a video or really anything through file sharing with anybody that is in a local proximity to them. So Apple has the AirDrop feature. Android phones have something also fairly similar called Nearby Share. And then as I was doing the research, I thought at first it was just iPhones that we had to look at, but then I realized that Chrome operating systems also use Nearby Share. So overall, what we found in the research this week is that turning these features off is super, super simple. Number one, we have to let more parents and more students and more educators know that this is a potential threat, but that everybody has the ability to help solve the problem. So if your phone is not open to file sharing, you are part of the solution. Think if everybody in a school had their file sharing off, none of those threats could have gone through. I think it was just honestly surprising to me how easy it is to turn these off.
Yes, I would agree. I think my settings are always set to contacts or people I know instead of everyone, because it's super easy. If you're sitting on the sofa and you want to send a picture to your husband who's sitting, down the sofa from you, you just airdrop it over. But I try to make sure that not anyone and everyone can send things to me.
Yeah, that is a really good setting on AirDrop. You have the choice between no one has the ability to AirDrop you or your contacts only. We recommend that students set it to no one. So that's another example that I've heard from some of my teacher friends, that kids in their first period class will take a picture of the test that they have that day, and then they will airdrop that to their friends. Very sneaky, right? But teachers are catching on, parents are catching on, whether the other kids want to get that picture or not. So whether they want to cheat or not, their friends could send it to them and they don't know what they're getting until they accept it, and then it's on their phone and technically they've cheated. You can always go into those settings and turn it back on if there is a need, but I think in general for kids, the safest is just turn it off.
Good.
So easy fix. We just have to take a few minutes to learn about it. All right. So Andrew, one other thing that's big this week is the Winter Olympics kickoff. It's kind of hard to believe. I know. We just had the Summer Olympics. Thank you, COVID. We're now into Winter Olympics. I'm so glad that it's happening because those young athletes have worked so hard to get to where they are. So I'm glad the world found a way to make it work.
Me too. We are really big Olympic fans in our house. Basically, the only thing that will be allowed on the TV screen over the next couple of weeks will be the Olympics. We love it. We have a little party on for the opening ceremonies, and then we'll watch all the fun events throughout the next couple of weeks.
That's awesome. Something that's been in the media a lot this week I've picked up on. Obviously, I read a lot about social media, so that's what I get in my news feeds a lot. But a lot of countries talked with their athletes before they left to go to China about social media in China. A couple weeks ago, I asked my husband, I wonder if China is going to allow athletes to access some of the social media that they don't let Chinese citizens to access. I haven't really seen that answer of what China is allowing or not allowing.
I was actually just reading that the Olympians' cell service will be able to circumvent the restrictions that Chinese typically have, but they don't know if any repercussions will come if people speak out against anything they see in China. It'll be interesting to see how far that reaches.
Yeah, absolutely. China has a lot of different rules and laws, and with Olympians coming from all over the world who also have different rules and laws, it will just be very interesting. I think one thing that I really feel empathetic for with these young athletes is a lot of them are there alone. They're not spectators, from what I understand, similar to the Summer Olympics. And I think some of the athletes were saying they just weren't at the top of their game because they didn't have that support system around them. And now it almost feels doubly worse for these winter athletes because they don't have their social media either. I know a lot of them are influencers and make money, and I'm sure their business people have put things into place that they're not going to lose out while they are competing in the Olympics. There's ways to schedule and do all that, but just that they don't have that connection through social media like they would at home. I'm just curious how it's going to impact them.
I hope they can, stay focused and enjoy their time there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. Maybe this is a good opportunity for them to break away from social media and focus. I don't know. We'll see. Thanks, Andrea. It was good chatting with you.
Always fun.
Thank you for listening to the smartsocial.com podcast with this week's topics from Beth and Andrea. If you enjoyed the MomTalk discussion that we had today about all things social media from a mom's perspective, we invite you to join the smartsocial.com VIP program. As a very informed parent VIP member, you will learn about the dangers and benefits of social media for your kids and get tips every week to keep your family safe online, and most importantly, to teach your students how to shine online. We have over 130 detailed app guides that cover apps like TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, and 100 plus apps you might not have heard of, but your students may have visited or downloaded. Find out more and join today at smartsocial.com/VIP. Please remember to rate, subscribe, and review so we can continue to help more parents and educators just like you. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. As always, remember to keep it light, bright, and polite. We'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day.